Good morning. Today is September 18th, 2025. It is approximately 9:30 a.m. This is the matter of file application Z0103-25. This is an appeal. The applicant is Mr. Brett Williams. Mr. Williams is present. The owner of the property is Chris Egger. He's also present. The property is commonly referred to as Pat's Acres. Present on behalf of Clackamas County is Mr. Nick Hart, Planner 1. Also present is Ms. Lindsay Nesbitt. My name is Carl Cox. I'm a private attorney appointed by the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners as hearings officer with authority to conduct this hearing and make a determination in this matter. I'll state some important things for the record. First, I have not received any ex parte contact, meaning no one contacted me outside of these proceedings to try to persuade me concerning a fact or issue present in this matter. I've also considered issues of bias and conflict of interest and have determined that I do not have any bias or conflict of interest. I'll note for the record a couple of things on that point. I did download and review the hearing packet, the hearing record that was provided in advance by the county. Those records are publicly available and are part of the record of these proceedings. That record included the county staff report and exhibits 1 through 26 through some information about sound meter recordings. I also acted as hearings officer in a prior matter involving a similar application, and so I do have some other background information about this. I reviewed that and considered it with respect to this current application and determined that I just don't have any bias or conflict of interest in this whatsoever, and will fairly review this application. This is a quasi-judicial land use hearing, which means two important things for those participating in this hearing. First, all of the criteria that can be used in reaching a decision have been identified in the staff report. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards the criteria identified in the staff report or other relevant criteria found in the comprehensive plan or other land use regulation that the person believes applies to the decision. Accordingly, please direct your testimony to a relevant approval criterion. Second, failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue may preclude appeal to the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Once final, this decision may be appealed to the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals. At this time, I'm asking that the county provide an explanation concerning participation in this hearing via the Zoom platform.
Thank you, Mr. Hearings Officer. This public hearing will be conducted virtually using the Zoom platform. Panelists for today's hearings, which include the hearings officer, county staff, and the applicant, have both audio and video capability. Audience members who have joined the meeting will have their mics muted unless they wish to testify, in which case they will be called upon to do so by the county staff moderator. Audience members' video will not be turned on at any time. Today's hearing is being recorded as required by law. The county will make every effort to post the recording on the county website later today. There is a designated time during the hearing where it will be open for testimony. The hearings officer will make clear when it is. If you want to provide testimony, you will utilize the raise hand feature. For attendees on PC and iPad, you have a raise hand button on the Zoom bar that'll be either on the top or the bottom of your screen, depending on the device. When the moderator switches you over to provide testimony, your screen will look different for a little while. Primarily, we'll see all participants' cameras, not just the one who is speaking. Staff will call upon you when it is time for you to provide testimony. Be sure to provide your name and mailing address when you begin. Once you have provided your testimony, your mic will be muted and your screen will be returned to normal. If the record is left open at the end of this hearing and you wish to submit additional written testimony, email written testimony to nhart clackamas.us, or mail it to Clackamas County Planning and Zoning Division, 150 Beaver Creek Road, Oregon City, Oregon, 97045. The staff contact email address is also available on the webpage where you found the Zoom link for today's hearing, and will also be provided at the end of the county's presentation later today. Testimony must be received by 4 p.m. on the day the record closes. People who testify and provide their mailing address will receive a copy of the hearings officer's written decision. If you do not wish to testify but would like to receive the decision, you must provide your email or standard mailing address, either by email to the staff contact for the application, which is myself, or by entering it in the Zoom chat function during the hearing.
Thank you. In this matter, the applicant submitted a proposal to alter the existing non-conforming use that allows for the use of a go-kart track at Pat's Acres for go-karts and, in a limited capacity, road motorcycles. The application the alteration proposed by the applicant was to allow for a limited number, or is to allow for a limited number of days where the track can be used for the drifting of automobiles. And there are a lot more details to it, but that's a basic summary of the proposal. On July 16, 2025, the county planner reviewing the file denied the application. And then the applicant submitted an appeal of that denial. This review of the application is de novo. I will review it from scratch. I will also review the county's planner's denial. The staff report is related to that, and that staff report becomes a record, a part of the record of my decision. The applicant here bears the burden of proving that the alteration proposed will not result in greater impact to the neighboring properties than the current non-conforming use. I will ask here that the county begin by presenting information that the county wants to consider concerning its staff report and review, providing an opportunity following that for the applicant. I think that it's best organized in that manner so that we hear a review of the application by the county, then we have an opportunity for the applicant to fully flesh out the reasons that the application should be approved. And I'm going to ask or suggest at least that you focus on what I stated, the issue, the primary issue, the reason that the county denied it, and that is having to do with the impact of the proposal on neighboring uses. So with that, Mr. Hart, do you have a staff report or to share?
I do. I've prepared a PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you.
Can you all see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hearings Officer. This is the staff presentation on the appeal of land use file Z0103-25. Some brief site information, I think most are familiar, but the subject property consists of 4 tax lots surrounded by the Pudding River. The subject property is presently developed as Pat's Acres Racing Complex, a non-conforming use in the EFU zoning district. The subject property is located within the FEMA floodway and floodplain, and within the principal river conservation area of the Pudding River. As no development is proposed on site, review of ZDO sections 703 and 704, which pertain to those protected resources, was not conducted. The applicant has submitted for a non-conforming use alteration application pursuant to ZDO 1206. Verification of the non-conforming use on site has previously been determined via the hearings officer's decision on land use file Z0339-23, which is in the record as Exhibit 7. Applicable approval criteria for this application are contained in ZDO sections 202, 401, 1206, and 1307. These are also identified in the notice of land use application in Exhibit 13 and in the staff decision, which is Exhibit 1. This is the extent of the verified non-conforming use on site from the prior land use file. I won't read the whole thing, but I will pause here. The gist of it is that the site is approved for use as a go-kart track with limited road motorcycle use, as previously discussed by the hearings officer. The proposed alteration, in brief, the applicant proposes to replace up to 15 days per year of track operations as a go-kart track with 15 days of track operations for the drifting of automobiles. These 15 days would be distributed throughout the year, with no more than one period of drift use occurring per month, with some periods of use spanning 2 consecutive days. Each day would be limited to 180 participants, with no more than 14 automobiles actively using the track at one time, which excludes other automobiles present on the property or in pit lanes. Drifting use of the track is proposed to occur within the normal operating hours of the track, beginning no earlier than 10 a.m. and ending before sunset, with no more than 7 hours of track use per day. Camping and other uses of the property would occur associated with drift use to the same extent as what is allowed during cart or motorcycle use of the property. And the full details of the applicant's proposed alteration can be found in both the staff decision, which is Exhibit 1, and in the materials submitted by the applicant, which will be Exhibits 2, 2A, 2B, and 25. Staff denied this application as they felt the applicant did not demonstrate that the proposed alteration met the standard at Z0103-25, which states that the alteration or change will, after the imposition of conditions pursuant to subsection 1206.07b4, have no greater adverse impact to the neighborhood than the existing structure, other physical improvements, or use. Staff concurred with the applicant on a number of ways in which the proposed alteration will generate no greater adverse impact, including traffic impacts, light and glare impacts, and odor and smoke impacts. Staff did not concur with the applicant that the proposed alteration, even with conditions of approval, would not have a greater adverse impact to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming cart use that it would be replacing, primarily because the staff do not believe that the application substantiates that the noise impacts generated by the drift use of the property would not exceed the noise impacts generated by the existing cart use. In brief, this is broken down into 4 things. The first is that staff do not believe that an accurate baseline noise level for the existing cart use has been established by the application. Staff do not concur with the applicant's interpretation of the academic article submitted that measured carts in a laboratory. That's Exhibit 11 in the record. And staff do not concur with the submitted video, which is the YouTube link embedded in Exhibit 25 on page 2, that is an accurate representation of noise generated on the subject property during typical cart operations as described by the applicant, because insufficient evidence and information was provided about the circumstances under which that video was recorded. Staff do not concur that the proposed technical inspection can reliably ensure that noise generated by the automobiles being drifted would not exceed whatever the baseline noise level is for cart use, because the proposed inspection criteria are mostly related to the safety and operation of mufflers and other features of the car, and regulate cars under normal driving conditions where staff understand drifting of cars to be a more intense use of vehicles than the standard operations that those regulations are intended to regulate. Staff do not concur that the live noise monitoring proposed by the applicant will reliably result in no greater adverse impact to the neighborhood, as staff have questions about both the methods and materials used in that proposed noise monitoring. And staff do not concur that the proposed plantings for noise mitigation would reliably produce such an effect, and if so, the degree of noise mitigation that would be provided by those plantings is not reliably established or guaranteed by the application. As promised, here's my contact information. If you would like to be added to the record, you can find my email address here. And that will conclude my presentation.
Will you be adding the your presentation as an exhibit to the file?
We can, yes.
Yes, okay, by 4 o'clock.
Will do.
Thank you. The appellant, Mr. Williams.
Yes. I've prepared, sorry, this is my first time. I've prepared an opening statement. Do I have to directly respond to everything that he mentioned, or can I just simply give my opening statement as I prepared?
You can provide your opening statement. And you can also, if you want, address or rebut the statements by Mr. Hart.
Okay. Good morning, and thank you for hearing this appeal. My name is Brett Williams, and I represent Pat's Acres Racing Complex. We are here today because the county denied our application to alter the existing non-conforming use in order to allow a limited number of drifting days. I believe this denial was an error, and I respectfully ask you to overturn it. At its core, this application does not expand the footprint or intensity of the facility. It simply exchanges a handful of already permitted go-kart days for drifting days, no more than 15 per year, and no more than one period of use per month. That is fewer participants, shorter operating hours, and tighter noise restrictions than what is already allowed for karting. We have demonstrated in our proposal that the traffic impacts will decrease. Go-kart events regularly draw 250 to 600 participants, while drifting days will be capped at 180. Fewer drivers means fewer cars on Arndt Road, fewer spectators, and less neighborhood impact. Noise will be strictly regulated. Unlike karts, which can have 34 on track and another 34 revving in the staging lanes, drifting will only allow 14 cars on track at a time. Each car must pass a rigorous technical inspection, be street legal, and comply with a 95 decibel limit. Monitored with on-site meters, with immediate removal for violations. Go-kart use is consistently higher in measured decibels than what we are proposing. Operating hours are shorter. Karting may start at 9 a.m. and run until sunset. We propose drifting no earlier than 10 a.m. and no more than 7 hours in a day. Mitigation measures go beyond current requirements. We offered to plant 150 willow trees along the riverbank for natural buffering and to strengthen restoration efforts already underway. The county's denial focused primarily on uncertainty around noise measurements, but the law does not require perfection. It requires showing that the proposed use will have no greater adverse impact than the existing use. When we compare 68 carts making up 80 to 100 decibels
102
with
is our limit.
with 14 carts or with 14 automobiles limited to 95, it is clear that drifting will not increase noise impacts and in fact should reduce them. Beyond the technical criteria, the record is undeniable. More than 580 public comments in support of drifting at Pat's Acres compared to just a handful of objections. Supporters spoke about safety, keeping drifting off public roads, economic benefits to Canby and Wilsonville, and the role that Pat's Acres in local motorsports culture. This is not just a personal interest, it is the community interest. Pat's Acres has been a good neighbor for decades. When concerns have been raised in the past, the owners responded directly, sometimes walking over to neighbors' homes to listen and resolve them in real time. This application builds on that history of putting enforceable rules in place to ensure drifting can continue in a safe, structured, and responsible way. In short, this proposal meets the county's standards. It reduces traffic, reduces operating hours, regulates noise, and provides mitigation, all while serving a community need that is otherwise unmet in the Portland metro area. For these reasons, I respectfully ask you to overturn the denial and approve the alteration of the non-conforming use to allow drifting at Pat's Acres.
Thank you. And did you also want to rebut any of the information, that was shared by Mr. Hart?
Yeah, I guess as far as the rebuttal is concerned, as far as the noise testing that they were unsatisfied with, the first few months of this process, I met personally with Nick and Lindsay to go over my options because I'm not a lawyer and I was just trying to do this on behalf of the community. And I wanted to sit down with them and see what went wrong last time and what they were looking for so that I could provide that information. When providing that information, they did a great job helping me the first few months put this proposal together and provide everything that they were suggesting. And then once we got to the last few months and I was starting to do noise testing, they would no longer meet with me. So I would go and get information and go and do testing and then I would call the county as well as go down there in person, and they would just flat out say they didn't have time to meet with me and they could no longer go over it. They would email me very generic responses letting me know that they didn't have time and they were too busy to sit down and talk about this stuff with me anymore. But that was it. And so I was kind of left on my own at that point, which may be the standard procedure. I don't know. Like I said, I don't do this often, but I just felt like that was unfair treatment. Why would they, with lack of a better term, hold my hand the first few months to put a proposal together on paper? But then when it come down to the last few months of providing very detailed information that would be satisfactory for my approval, why would they then no longer want to be part of it and help? Like I feel like I was just led down a road and then came to a fork and then not necessarily led the wrong direction, but not given a chance to go the right direction.
Sir, sir, can I speak to it? This
Just a
is
moment.
Ken.
Let me just put your name down. I want to have it in my notes who was speaking to me.
Yeah, it's Chris Egger.
I remember you, sir.
Okay,
I just
the
was making
property
a
owner.
note. This is your turn.
Yep, all right. So with regards to the sound test that was provided in the last hearing, the last application,
Yes.
we spent a tremendous amount of money on a completely third party, no relationship, sound company to come out and do sound testing. This is a company that has provided numerous sound tests for a lot of applications around the area. They're very reputable. So basically, the concept that we operated by when they came in and did the sound test was they set up a bunch of their monitors. We did it in three parts. We had two approved motorcycle use venues, two split. We ran them on the pavement only, and then we ran them on a dirt section only. And then we took sound readings from cars drifting, starting with one car, then we went to two, then three, then four. And I believe we got up to six. We had 8 or 9 there. We had a breakdown or two, so we couldn't drift or get sound readings for more than maybe 5 or 6 cars on track at a time. The motorcycle use is a permitted use. The reason why we didn't do it with go-karts was because the only time that we could fit, that the sound company could fit us in and come out and do the sound test, was on a weekend that there was a regional kart race being held at another track that's out on the fairgrounds in McMinnville. And we wouldn't have had the ability to get 5 guys there because everybody that has go-karts was out there. So
I remember
okay.
you explained that to me and I haven't forgotten.
Okay, so basically what what the sound data showed was there was very slight increase in noise level as we started adding drift cars. If you go back and you look at the readings from 2 cars to 3 cars to 4 cars, it was a very, very, very slight increase. One of the criticisms by the county last time was, well, you only ran 5, I believe the number was 5 cars, and why didn't you run more? And it's like, well, look at the data. The noise didn't really increase when we increased the number of cars.
Well,
They questioned.
Those were unregulated cars too.
Yeah, and those were cars that we can put restrictions on and get them quieter than those were, but we just ran what we had been previously running. With regards to they criticized, they tried to bring to question the legality of the bikes that were on track. And we're allowed to run motorcycles. We've ran motorcycles for years and years. And the noise, that is a permitted use that happens often. And so I guess I didn't understand why it would make a difference if we were measuring go-karts or motorcycles. A lot of them use the same motors, and our noise limit that we've operated by is 102 decibels at 50 feet, 90 degrees, yada, yada, yada. The go-karts that run out there a lot of the time make more noise than those motorcycles do. But
I remember you had 2 measurements. One was for sort of your rental carts, I think is how you described them. And the second one was for individual racing carts, which are louder, but
yeah.
I
And
remember there were 2 different parts of that study. Yeah.
Well, the two different parts were the motorcycles on the asphalt track only, and then on a dirt section
Yeah.
only. And then we ran them together, and the noise really didn't increase when we ran them together. So the dirt section was in question, and we have been restricted back to a smaller dirt section. But if you go back and look at the noise study, you'll see that when the bikes were on the paved track, that they still made as much noise as the cars did, as the drift cars did. But it was one of those things where we spent a lot of money. We brought an outside, completely unbiased third party in to measure the sound. We provide the evidence, and rather than look at it, all Miss Nesbitt tried to do was discredit that information that was on there and try to say that it's illegitimate and that's not a good study. And rather than look at the data and analyze the data and make a decision based off of that data, she just tried to discredit the data and basically said, well, they didn't do this, and how do we know that? And we can't verify what kind of motorcycles and any of that stuff. Well, we had a third party independent provide the study, and that study was lengthy, and it had everything spelled out. The bikes that were there, the bikes that we run, on and the track runs. I think there was some what do I want to say, misunderstanding because in the decisions they talk about event days and the number of event days, and you only race this many event days and whatever. That track is open and has use 200 plus days a year. We run,
So
excuse me.
generally six days a week, and
Correct.
yeah.
Correct. We're quiet on Mondays. If it's not raining, there's activity on that track every day. We put on a number of events that are race events, and for both motorcycles and for carts. But there was some scrutiny, basically saying, well, this would add to the number of events that the track puts on if we allowed for these additional 12 or 13 drift events. And it's like, no, that track is being used and making noise. And, we don't call them event days, they're track days, but there are numerous people, hundreds, that use that track 6 days a week. And so there was some confusion there. Because it sounded like part of what Miss Nesbitt was trying to say was that, it would increase the frequency and the number of track days, therefore increasing the number of cars on the road and blah, 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 blah. That's not the case. Most of the time when we have events, there's actually fewer people coming and going throughout the day. So there's a rental cart operation that runs out there 6 days a week that.
Yeah, I remember that. We talked about this, that when you do events, your participants are coming and their friends and family are coming. But you don't have the public coming because they can't race their own vehicles.
Right.
Well, the one of the reasons I wanted to meet with them in person the first few months of putting this proposal together was because I did get permission from Chris to try to tackle this on my own without a bunch of money and lawyers and stuff like that involved. So one of my goals the first few times I met with Miss Nesbitt and Nick was to try to come up with a proposal that would appeal to the county as being approvable without providing a $20,000 noise study and a $10,000 traffic study, and upon our lengthy conversations, because we met in person probably 8 or 9 times through the first few months, and it was pretty clear to me that I didn't need that stuff. All I needed to do was show what was being created currently versus what I'm proposing to create with these new events with drifting. If I show what noise and traffic is produced by current events, and I show that I'm going to limit and regulate what I'm proposing to do, then there doesn't need to be a technical study because if it's here now and I'm proposing to be here and I have processes in place to regulate and limit it so it stays underneath, then that's approvable. That's all they're looking for. And so that's why I got a little bit frustrated with the fact that they wouldn't meet with me the last few months, because then it's almost like it turned a page. Like, now I have this pretty solid, in my opinion, proposal that upon previous meetings with them is going to be approvable. And then we get towards the end of the process, towards a decision, and now they're asking for criteria that's technical. And it's like, well, I gave you criteria that exists and I gave you limits to what we're going to propose. So that's what you've been saying was missing last time, and that's what you've been saying I need in order to avoid these expensive testing. Why all of a sudden now are you asking for that criteria? Like, that's why I did that YouTube video with a sound study, because like Chris said, I couldn't just get a sound team out there within 30 days and do that, and there was no budget for it. Um, so we went out and got meters that were on the market and readily available and readily used by people all over the world. Yeah, and I did a sound study, and I understand their rebuttal or their argument that it might have there might be a plus or minus to its accuracy and stuff like that. But that's doesn't matter, because if we're using the same device for both events, then they're going to be compared with the same device. So that plus or minus is going to apply to both. So if it's down by 3 decibels, well, it's going to be down by 3 when we measure the carts, and it's going to be down by 3 when we measure the vehicles. So it's going to be the same device, the same measurement tool, the same readings. So I felt like that was when I mentioned going down the wrong road. I felt like it, like I said, they led me down a successful path, and then they're trying to make it look like I took the wrong turn when really it's like I had no idea which turn to take, because I thought I was already at the end of the road with a successful proposal.
And with regards to the traffic studies that they wanted during the last hearing.
They're not asking for any now.
Okay.
Yeah, we passed that.
I mean, we held drift events for 14 years and
And the
never
way I
had
read
an
the
issue.
county's staff report, they agreed with your what you
They
stated
don't-
about the traffic.
I
Yeah.
gotcha. I gotcha.
So I don't think there's a real dispute there.
Okay.
Did the county have something to add or respond to from what the applicant
Can I
said?
say one
Yes,
more
sir.
thing real
Yes,
quick?
sir, of course.
So in 2019, the county turned over the noise regulations and enforcement to the sheriff's department. There is and I wish that I had it, I just thought of this, but there is a rule, a line, a clause in the sheriff's department's requirement for sound that states whatever the general noise policies are for the county, before 7 AM, after 10 PM, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah.
Yep.
Whatever the standard
at
is.
I think at the window of the house of the neighbor or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And then there's a decibel limit at the neighbors, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, there is a rule that in their documentation that says there are 4 or 5 different types of facilities that are actually exempt from noise restrictions. That would be racetracks, high schools, sporting venues, airports, and concert venues. And so by the county's sound regulations, racetracks are exempt from noise restrictions anyways, other than as long as they fall
Right.
within those out.
Yeah, this is a little bit different. What you have is a non-conforming use on property so if you were to apply to put a racetrack there today, it would flat out be denied because it's the zoning for the property
Right.
wouldn't allow it. So you have a non-conforming use, and that non-conforming use has an impact on on the primary uses of other properties. So you're in a residential zoned area. So you have residential use of other properties, which is the primary use of residential property. Uh, those properties are impacted by that in a way that other residential properties are not, because they don't have the non-conforming use like yours. Now, so the county isn't saying we're shutting you down because you're a public nuisance because your noise is excessive and it's impacting these properties. That's a given. It is already happening. So the test here is when you and I was at the hearing and I approved the verification for your non-conforming use. You have it. It's been there and it is a go-kart track. And yes, it impacts these primary residential uses of the other properties, but there's the county is not making an effort to stop your non-conforming use here at all. And I certainly approved the continuing of your non-conforming use, correct? Um, the issue is when you apply to alter that non-conforming use, is the proposed alteration going to create a greater adverse impact on those
I
primary?
got you.
And it doesn't matter what the start of your decibels, well, it does matter what the start of your decibels were, but it doesn't matter that it exceeds like the sheriff's office test where they're going to go to the window and hold up a handheld. And no, that's not even relevant here. What's
Okay,
relevant
I
is,
got you. I follow your reasoning.
yeah, and I hope that I'm being helpful here
No,
because
I
my view, and it's
understand.
what I'm looking for, is evidence submitted in your application that it's not going to create a greater adverse impact than already
Yeah.
exists. Okay,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
that's the crux of it here. Yeah, there are a bunch of other things in this that I'm going to go through, that the staff report already goes through, but I see no reason to muddy the water on those because the county agrees with you on every other point. It is this noise impact.
I got you.
Okay, so I think, yeah, I'm trying to get the whole process here to focus on the real issue, and that's it. Um,
Yeah,
Is it a greater adverse impact?
is a
yeah.
Were you the
yes.
hearings officer in the original non-conforming use
Oh,
variance
I was going to
hearings?
assume the original one is probably long gone. That was a long time ago.
That was the
Yeah, no,
70s.
we filed that. That track has been there since 67. We bought it in 98 and that's at the point where we established the non-conforming use. And I
Yeah, I
didn't
think it
know,
was approved in 99. You may have filed it in 98, but
yeah.
that's my,
And
I,
I
I
didn't
I
know if you
looked
were
it
the,
over and I could have the date wrong, but it seemed to me it was 99. But 98, it doesn't matter.
I didn't know if you were the hearings officer back then or not.
I I do have a lot of white hair. I agree, but that was 26 years ago. So yeah, but thank you. Does the county have a response to the discussion about the noise testing and the process here? Or just, if not, I'll move to opening it up to the general public.
We'll just note that the noise study that Mr. Eggers discussed and that was submitted with the previous application was not really addressed in the staff decision because through conversations with Mr. Williams, it became evident that the cars used in preparing that noise study were substantially different, as they put it, unregulated, when compared to the cars that are proposed in this application. And so there is one place in the staff report or staff decision where some of the sort of background information from the report is referenced, but the actual data collected in that report was not analyzed in the staff decision because of the differences between the cars proposed and the cars that were used in that report.
Do I have members? Oh, Ms.
Oh,
Nesbitt.
yeah, sorry. Lindsay Nesbitt, Planning Manager. And I just wanted to address Mr. Williams' concerns about guidance from staff. And I think the record is, obviously we have a difference of opinion, but I believe the record is very clear that Nick has spent a lot of time in correspondence with Mr. Williams. And I would say it was like above and beyond what we normally would do for applicants in providing suggestions and guidance with the goal of, being able to recommend approval. I think it's very clear. Ultimately, as the applicant, Mr. Williams has the burden of proof. And, staff, it's, we can't tell you what to do and tell you how to do your application. All we can do is offer guidance. And I felt that Nick went above and beyond with that. And I think the record supports that as well. So.
Thank you. I saw a good deal of that correspondence had to do with whether the application could be considered at all, whether it was substantially different than than the prior application that was denied or partially approved. Okay. Do we have members of the general public who want to participate and provide comments? I'm going to invite you to use the raise hand feature as Mr. Hart described and provide an opportunity for you to make a public comment.
I have Shane with their hand up.
And Shane, what's your last name?
Hello, my name is Shane Bryant, last name Bryant.
Good morning, sir. This is your opportunity to provide comments in support or opposition to the proposal.
All right, my name is Shane Bryant. I live up in Northwest Washington. My comments are in support of Pat's Acres. I've been a patron of Pat's Acres for the better part of 10 years now, mostly as a drifter, not much as a carter. But what I can say from my experiences there, going there as a participant in drifting and also a spectator, every interaction I've ever had there with Chris and the faculty and even the people in the community of Canby and Wilsonville, because we spend a lot of money there for lodging, for food and whatnot. Everyone always has positive things to say about Pat's Acres and what it brings to the community, for not just financially, but just the level of people that it brings around. Because usually in this drift community, you've got a lot of people who are respectful, who are just looking for a place to call home when they want to go and enjoy their sport and be safe about it. And I think that what Chris and his family and friends provide there really enriches the community and the drift community greatly. But I've also experienced neighbors that have been over there to just take part in spectating with us drifting there, and talk to some of the neighbors and how much they enjoy it and how much it doesn't bother them, and they understand exactly how we feel about the entire thing. And I mean, Chris and the Yeager family have done a great job, I think, over the last 15, 20 years of providing a good, safe space for us to enjoy what we do and not burden anybody else with, street drifting or any kind of illegal acts, which, I mean, let's face it, isn't good for anybody. But yeah, I know that there's hoops to go through and there's hurdles to go over, but I think they're doing a great job at trying to conform to what is needed. And I know that myself as a drifter am ready to conform in any way that I need to, so that my car not only continues to pass their very strict technical analysis when we go there, but also to make sure that it's nice and quiet, because I know that even though I live so far away, that Pat's Acres is my home. I that's where I want to drift all the time, because of the atmosphere, the people, and the surrounding communities that welcome us and, treat us like family when we're there to, hang out and spend our money and just enjoy. So I would like to keep calling Pat's Acres my home track, and I'll do anything that I need to personally to ensure that that happens.
Thank you, sir. And
I
thank you for
appreciate
your
you guys.
citizenship in participating.
Not a problem. Thank you guys.
I have AJ followed by Joshua.
Okay. Good morning. AJ, what's your name?
Hi, my name is AJ, last name Moser. I am
Mosier?
close, Moser.
Oh, just ER. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm in favor to support Pat's Acres. I actually have moved away from Oregon to Texas over the last couple of years, but Pat's Acres was like Shane, home to a lot of us who are invested in the car and drifting community. And I've watched them battle this over the years, and these guys do everything they can to try to keep a great community alive and going. So they've been strict before on the noise levels in the past. And they follow it really well, and have even kicked people out, for having no exhaust or anything like that. And yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. And you said there was another person with their hand up?
Yes, they were bumping around in order. So I have Joshua next.
Joshua. Thank you. Joshua, what's your last name?
Hi, hello. My name is Joshua. My last name is Kubic, spelled Kubic.
Kubic. Thank you. And
And
where are you from?
I'm here in support of Pat's Acres.
Okay.
And I just want to say the first time I live far away to come down there, and so I usually call tracks first before I come down to see what their rules and regulations are. And the number one thing that came up in conversation first when I asked about the rules and regulations is they said that my car had to be below a certain amount of noise decibels. I don't remember what it was offhand. And they said if my car was not below that noise decibel, it would not pass. And if it somehow became above that noise decibel during the day and it was caught or noticed, that I would be asked to leave the track and take my car home, and it could come back when it was quieter and better pass their tests. So they are very mindful of how loud the vehicles are that are coming to their track, because they're trying to operate within whatever their guidelines are. And they're very dedicated to doing that. If you ask anyone who's used to coming down there or calls and talks to them, noise decibel for drifting was always a very top note thing. And then everything else down below that, as far as safety features and things like that. Also, I want to add, with the amount of crazy stuff going on in the world with people being wild on the streets and stuff, having racetracks that people can go to, especially young people, it gives them no excuse to go out and be doing stupid stuff on the street and risking other people's lives that they really don't need to be, and going to a facility where they have fire and EMS on hand standing by for said accidents or things that could happen on track or whatever. And I think it helps create a safer environment and gives other people reasons to say, hey man, we're going to the track this week and don't go do that dumb stuff. Why don't you come with us for the weekend and we'll go have fun where we won't get in trouble.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
I have Nick.
Unmuted. Okay, hey guys. My name is Nick. My last name is Prouty, Prouty, and I'm in here in favor of Pat's Acres.
Where are you from, Mr. Prouty?
I'm from Oregon. Yeah, actually, was living in Canby. Just moved to Oak Ridge, so a little further away, but was a local person there for many years. And yeah, I'm here in favor of Pat's Acres. I used to drift, but unfortunately, when Pat's Acres lost the ability to have it at the track, I kind of lost a little bit of my motivation because Pax Acres had cultivated such a beautiful environment for us as drifters to be able to come and have a community of people who are wholesome, who are kind, who are helping one another and generous towards one another. And we saw the love and the compassion from Chris and Lisa, and just how much they cared for us. And we felt very warm and welcome. And I wanted to just kind of bring a little bit clarity that most of the drivers that attend Pat's Acres are responsible people. I'm a independent business owner. I have a couple different businesses, and a lot of the people are. We're all fairly successful. We have families. A lot of people are there with their kids, and everyone's having a great time. And I just wanted to, express that we're not the people that are out there on the street doing the cookies and stuff in the middle of intersections. That's not who we are as drifters. We don't identify with that community at all. We identify with the responsible people that are adults, that we've been out there, and we use tracks. We want to have a track to go to be safe, to be able to have fun in a good, safe environment. And I feel like Pat's Acres was the perfect place for that, being so close to Portland, it's only a half hour, and so many other places. It's kind of a central, great location, and it had been such a great part of the community. But it wasn't just for local people. There are people all over the country that have come to Pat's Acres to drift there when it was allowed because of how popular it is. It's a beautiful place. If you've ever been there, it's right on a river. It's just beautiful amount of trees. The elevation changes in the track are just so much fun when you're driving. And it really is just an incredible place. And I know the sound is kind of a little bit more. However, after the repave, when they repaved it, because I've drifted it before, they repaved it after, it got a lot quieter. The new surface they have is a lot better at the tire noise. It doesn't seem to be as bad. I think it's probably because it's not as rough as it used to be. And so that's actually already helped quite a bit. Obviously, engine noise is an issue, but I'm totally willing to put as many mufflers as I need onto my car to be able to make that happen. So to make you guys happy, whatever it is, I will definitely be glad to do anything that I could to my car to make it, within any sort of sound ordinance. So if that's the issue, no problem. We can handle that. But I just want to express how beautiful of an environment it was, and just, relay that to you guys, that we're not just these, random people out there coming here and having a crazy time. We're actually very adult and very professional, and we have a really cool community of people that love each other, honestly.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate
Yes.
your participation and coming this morning to provide your input and your citizenship. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
If I could just take a moment to ask that anyone who has provided testimony or will provide testimony put their email address in the Zoom chat. That way we can make sure you receive a written copy of the decision.
Next, I have Ross, followed by Shane.
Okay, Ross. What's your last name, Ross?
Hi, my last name is Hettel, Hettel. Ross is ROSS.
And what's your address?
I'm up in Portland, Oregon, in Multnomah County. Do you need my full address?
If you want to put it in the chat feature, as Mr. Hart suggested, you can receive a copy of the my final decision.
Okay.
You can provide your email address also and get one by email.
Cool. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'm obviously joining here in support of Pat's Acres. I, take part in this hobby. I currently go up about like an hour and a half north, up into Washington to another track in order to do it. And I'd very much like to stay in Portland and take all of my dollars and bring it down to Clackamas County and Canby, because, when you go down there, you make a weekend out of it. And so that'd be very nice. I did not know until I joined this hearing and seeing Brett in their presentation, what they've done. I did not realize that one of the things that they were proposing was this automated like live decibel meter. I just want to say I'm really impressed by that. There's another famous track, I think that is near residences that deals with noise issues. I don't know if you guys are familiar. It's south in California. It's called Laguna Seca. And they also have that sort of feature installed. And that's kind of the solution that they've done. And that's a world-class track. So I did not know until I joined this hearing that that was something that was proposed. And I think that's pretty impressive that they're kind of willing to go above and beyond to make sure that that's like kind of like top class to make sure they keep the neighbors happy. So I thought that was very impressive.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for your participation this morning.
Thank you.
I have Shane.
Good morning.
Hey.
What's your last name, sir?
It's Shane Bryant again. I
Oh.
raised the hand because the chat was disabled and I see that it just got enabled. So sorry about that.
Okay.
But also I wanted to add one last thing. If you guys do overturn this, I invite any of you guys to come out, see what we're really about, meet all of us, and even go for a ride along. I'd love to have any of you guys in my car on track anytime. You guys are all welcome.
Thank you for the invitation.
Have a good day.
You too. Do we have another new public participant?
I have Bill Casey.
Okay. Good morning. And Mr. Casey, what's your address or provided in the chat, please? Oh, you're muted, Mr. Casey. If you look at your microphone there. I see that you're not muted anymore, but I don't hear you. Mr. Casey, if you resolve your audio issue, you're welcome to raise your hand again and see about and provide your public comment. Ms. Reinhardt, do we have another public participant?
I have.
No, just a minute. And Mr. Casey, if you're unable to join, you're welcome to submit a public comment by email to, or a letter if you prefer, but email to Mr. Hart at the address he provided. And if I receive it before the record closes, I will certainly consider your written statement. Okay. Ms. Reinhardt?
I have Kayla.
Hi there, can you guys hear me?
Yes, and Kayla, what's your last name?
It's going to be McNutt, McNutt.
Okay, thank you. And what's your address?
Is going to be 14890 Northwest Satellite Drive, and that's in Banks, Oregon.
Thank you. And are you providing comment in support or opposition?
For support.
Okay, and go ahead.
So yeah, I didn't really prepare anything to say, but I definitely wanted to get in here and talk to you guys. I have been driving at Park as a drifter for close to 10 years now. And me and my teammate Jessica, it gave us such a great spot to learn and a safe place to go and do that. And we had so many good memories and good times at Park, and I think that all the drivers would be willing to make changes or do whatever we possibly can to get this track back. Me being as somebody that might have a louder car, I would totally do anything necessary to quiet it down, to make it quiet enough for, for any sound ordinances or anything like that. But with park being, taken away and us not having it, it makes people like me that live in this distance from the track, we have to travel so much farther and have to do so much more work to go and do this now. Lately we've been having to travel all the way to Walla Walla, which isn't an easy feat for some people. Park really gave locals an option, young people an option that wanted to get into this. It's a contained thing. People aren't leaving there and, causing trouble all over town. We go there for one thing, go and have fun safely all day, and then we go home. And I think another thing with it too is it's, we're only like seeking for like a once a month thing. We're not looking for every weekend or every Monday or anything like that. But yeah, it's park is where I got my start. It is a very, very important track to me. I'd love to see it come back. We've been very, very sad and heartbroken without it. And we don't want to impose on the community and them just think we're being loud and awful. We just want to bring, more to the community and what we can. And I look at it like, even though we're only going out there once a month, that once a month is going out there and supporting park, supporting the local businesses around, whether it's gas stations or restaurants. We try to, bring in that. So yeah, like I said, I didn't have too much to prepare or say, but I just wanted to know how important park is to me and all my friends.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for your participation and your citizenship.
Of course, yeah.
And I'll consider your input also.
Thank you.
Of course.
I have Cody Forsyth.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Mr. Forsyth, so where are you from?
I live in Sheridan, Oregon right now.
Did you provide your address for a copy of the decision?
I will input it into the chat.
Okay.
I'm just for support of Pat's Acres. I've never driven Pat's Acres. My wife and I used to spectate there a lot every time they have an event. I just want to say everything was great there. The community, all the cars, everything was super safe. The faculty did a really good job on making sure all their ducks were in a row and everyone was being very cordial. So I just, for support, I'd love to see it open again. I'd love to spectate, hopefully get my car there one day, take the family. I don't know. It was a big hit when it closed down. I understand the concerns, but man, it'd be really great to get it operational again and really bring that back to this part of the Pacific Northwest. That's all I have, though.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your participation.
Yeah, thank you.
I have Joshua's hand up again.
I think he's had his participation, but I will state that if I receive any written comments by 4 p.m. before on the day the record closes, that I will consider them.
Okay, I have Robin.
Okay, Robin. Robin, what's your last name?
My last name is Foster.
Okay, and good morning, Mr. Foster. Are you coming to this hearing in support or opposition? And what's your address?
I am in full support of Pat's
Okay.
Acres. I live 15 minutes from Canada up in Washington. And I've been drifting now for 11 years. I've had several friends tell me about it before I started drifting. One of my best friends used to race go-karts there when I was really young. So when I got a car in 2016, I was really excited to go there. It's an absolutely amazing facility. I've never been so welcome to a place I didn't know a single person there. It's a great facility. It allows a place for kids to not go out and do chaotic activities in the streets. Obviously, it's a great place for go-karts, but I and several of my friends from up here in Washington have been very disappointed that it was closed down. We all wish that we could go drive it every time, especially every summer around this time. We would all go down there and load up and hang out for a 3-day weekend. And just a great facility. I wish that it didn't get closed, but I understand the county's issues with it. I really wish you guys would open it back up again. I'm sure there's other people that are on the internet right now not realizing the Zoom meeting's live that have something to say, but like you said, they have till like 4 p.m. or whatever. I just wish that you guys would allow it to happen, because Brett and Chris and all them have just made drifting there absolutely amazing.
Thank you for your participation, sir, and I appreciate your citizenship.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any more hands raised.
All right. I don't see any real need to provide for further rebuttal during the hearing. I think we've fleshed out the issues here and what we have. Let me make a statement though. Does any party or member of the audience want an opportunity to provide additional evidence, arguments, or testimony? And does the applicant wish to waive the period for final written argument? So first, is there a request to keep the record open to submit additional evidence, arguments, or testimony here?
I have a closing statement, but I don't have any additional evidence.
I can provide for a closing statement period. Yes, Ms. Nesbitt.
There's a couple people who raised their hands in the audience. I think maybe they were waiting for the opportunity to testify in opposition.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought we were finished with
I don't know. I just wanted to point out that there were some folks that raised their hand.
Yeah, I have three hands that just popped up.
Okay. I'll reopen the opportunity for participation by the general public. I thought we were finished with that, but
Okay.
I don't want to foreclose people who have statements to make. Let's go ahead.
I have Dennis Colvin.
Good morning, Mr. Colvin. Are you in support or opposition this morning? You're muted also. So I can't hear you, sir. I see that you're not muted now.
Good morning. Our address is 15445 Northeast Arndt Road, Aurora, 97002. Both my wife and I sent letters in opposition when the second filing for non-conforming use came up. And I think more than anything, what we insist upon is there is excessive noise when the drift cars are going. And what I used to say was it was like 5 to 10 times as much as the carts. And also the motorcycles were much louder, but now they've moved them and they're tracked back off the edge of the river. We live right across the river from Pat's Acres.
I remember we talked before, and I did read your letters.
So just once again, I'd like to say, ask the county not to grant additional non-conforming use for drift car racing. It makes it unacceptable for us to be outside on our property. And we can't entertain it. There was a lot of disruption when they raced all the time. But even one day, and my wife's letter said even one day of drift car racing is one too many. And I'm amazed at all the people that have called and been in support. None of them are neighbors. They all come from outside the community.
Okay. I did receive your letters. And is there something more you wanted to add? I hear what you're saying.
Even with their noise measures, the noises of the drift cars are at least 2 to 5 times more. And we couldn't be outside when that happened.
Okay. I'll continue your comments, sir. And thank you for your participation as well. We have someone else.
I have Bill Casey.
Good morning. Mr. Casey, are you in support or opposition of this? And what's your address? I don't hear you, Mr. Casey. But your microphone does not appear to be muted. As I saw an indication that your microphone is now connected to your audio. Mr. Casey, as I stated earlier, you may submit a written statement by 4 p.m. on the day the record closes, which means for sure you can do it by today by 4 p.m. And I will consider your written statement. Do we have someone else, Ms. Reinhardt?
I have Eddie Hughes.
Hello.
Good
I'm
morning,
Eddie
Mr.
Hughes.
What's your address?
I'm at 5013 Northeast 159th Street, Vancouver, Washington.
Vancouver, okay. And are you in opposition or support this morning?
I'm in support of Pat's Acres.
Thank you. Go
I
ahead.
don't really have anything prepared, but I just wanted to mention that I'm originally from Bellingham, Washington, pretty close to the Canadian border. Group of friends and I would always make the trek down to Park Labor Day weekend to participate in the weekends that they pull together. I also wanted to kind of bring attention to street takeovers. I know some people were mentioning that that there's sometimes there's people that go out and do unresponsible things out in the streets. Lives have been taken. Police have been involved, and I don't think this is really brought to. I've listened to a couple of these hearings in the past, and I just haven't really heard anybody talk too much about this. But I wanted to at least submit 2 articles from Coin that kind of highlight some recent issues that have been coming up in the Portland metropolitan area. I put those 2 links into the chat. First article says arrests made, drivers cited after a night of street takeovers around Portland. The other one is dozens of officers respond to Southeast Portland street takeovers Monday night. And the problem that I'm seeing is like a lot of these people, they're younger people, more irresponsible, and you never know. These people, we don't really consider these people like our people, the drifters, the takeover. We usually call them takeover kids. They're usually the young kids that, you know, they get their car in high school. Maybe they're getting a decent job and they're able to afford a pair of tires to go out and do some burnouts, you know, out in the industrial areas of Portland. And the problem with this is we have no, since I'm in Vancouver, Washington, I'm right across the river. This area has no good, safe area for these kids to go and participate in their cars. I grew up driving Evergreen Speedway in Monroe, Washington, which is about 4 hours north of Vancouver. I have driven at the track at Walla Walla as well. But you know, with the price of diesel these days, those road trips are becoming more and more expensive. $200, $250 in diesel to get there and back to those tracks. The third closest track is just north of Vancouver, about an hour. Not the best track, in my opinion, to go to. They're also very limited to 6 hour days, one day, a couple times a week. But the other track that I've participated in is Medford, Washington, at Affinity Circuit. That's a 5 hour drive. I relocated to Vancouver, Washington to be close to Pat's Acres in 2021. Unfortunately, that was the year that Pat's Acres had some issues crop up towards the end of the year. Um, I I love this area, and being close to Pat's Acres, you know, it's something that we really need in this area. And the two articles that I submitted is just kind of like I want the county to at least be aware that there's some after effects of shutting down a racing facility that partakes in that facilitates like a safe area for us drivers to be a part of. I certainly don't take a part of this. I'm 38 years old. I don't want to be involved with getting arrested for taking my car out for a couple of burnouts. And I think younger kids need to also consider that too. Like it makes us look bad as a community. And yeah, I don't know. Sorry to ramble, but I didn't really have anything prepared. I just wanted to make sure that you guys know that there are some after effects of not having a safe place for us to be a part of. And even though that most of us are older and more responsible, there are still younger kids. Like it's kind of like skateboarding in the 80s and 90s. We didn't have skate parks back then. So kids were skateboarding in libraries or out front of businesses and getting kicked out by security guards and stuff like that. But in the early 2000s, they started building more and more skate parks for those kids. But
I
drifting
understand.
is kind of become like the redheaded stepchild of the motorsports community.
Well, thank you, and I will consider your comments, and I'll look to see if those articles are in the exhibits.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your participation this morning.
Are we able to make comment about in response?
I will in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
I want to make sure we finish the
Get
general
through 'em all.
public. Yes.
I don't have any more hands raised.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna end the general public section. I think it's appropriate to provide you an opportunity to rebut the comments. Before, you didn't have any real comments in opposition.
Yeah,
There always were substantially identical written comments that were submitted in opposition, and you did have an opportunity to see those the same as I did. But since it's been brought up, I want to make sure that you have that same that opportunity to provide rebuttal.
yeah. So I guess in terms of the opposition, the gentleman that called in, I obviously respect his position. I respect his concern. But I will say that he's one family member or friend away from being in support. And I understand his position. If you don't have anybody involved in motorsports or involved in racing or involved in anything that's going on at the racing facility next to your house, I understand why it would be a concern and a nuisance. But, you know, imagine if that same neighbor had one family member or good friend that
No, I
regularly
understand your
attended
comment
those
now.
events.
Yeah.
You know, he's one friend or family member away from being in support instead of opposition. And given his comments, he's the same, that's the same oppositional stance that would be in opposition of Chris shutting down for good. Because his argument is just that noise next to his house is a nuisance. You know, so obviously his claims are irrelevant because it's definitely with proven evidence, not 5 to 10 times louder. He's clearly just unhappy with the fact that there's noise produced next to his property, which I understand. But it must be taken into consideration that he is one friend or family member participant away from being in support of what we're asking for instead of in opposition, because he doesn't have the other side to see the benefits of it at all.
His niece has actually wanted to work for us and will probably will next summer.
So maybe something will come of that. Thank you. And I'll consider your comment as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we have a request to keep the record open? We'll go back to, do you need me to reread this statement? Because we're getting to the end of the hearing. I think I should. I'm supposed to read it somewhat just prior to the end and prior to closing a hearing. But I still want to make the offer. Does any party or member of the audience want an opportunity to provide additional evidence, arguments, or testimony? Do we have a request? Nope. The county? Nope. Does the applicant wish to waive the period for final written argument?
I just have my closing statement. Yeah, so no
That was
arguments.
it? Okay, let's hear is that your closing statement or you have one now?
I have a closing statement.
Okay, let's go ahead.
First of all, thank you for your time and attention throughout this process. I obviously respect your time as well. At the heart of this matter is something very simple, and that's fairness. For decades, Pat's Acres Racing Complex has operated as a community hub for motorsports. Generations of families and racers and fans have come through those gates. Chris and his family have invested their lives into maintaining this facility, not only as a place to race, but as a place where people feel welcome, safe, and part of something larger than themselves. We're not asking to expand what Pat's Acres is or to change its character. We're asking for a modest substitution, 15 drifting days a year in place of existing go-kart days. That's it. No expansion of the track, no increase in number of days, no extension of hours, just a chance to continue what has already been happening here for more than a decade, but this time under clear rules, limits, and enforcement. And yet, despite all the safeguards we have proposed, despite the overwhelming community support, nearly 600 people took the time to write in favor of drifting at Pat's Acres. This application was denied. The reasons for denial rest on uncertainty and speculation, not on clear evidence of greater harm. Think about the reality. Karting events can draw up to 600 participants with as many as 68 making noise at once. Drifting events under this proposal would be capped at 180 participants with only 14 cars making noise at a time, which meet strict muffler standards and pass a tech inspection, all monitored in real time with a 95 decibel limit. On top of that, drifting hours would be shorter, starting later in the morning and ending earlier in the evening. By any reasonable measure, drifting will not create greater impacts than karting. It will reduce them. And beyond the numbers, there's the human side. When drifting was hosted at Pat's Acres in the past, Chris and his team went out of their way to work with neighbors. If someone had a concern, Chris didn't ignore it. He drove over, listened, and tried to solve the problem right there on the spot. That is the kind of good faith stewardship that should matter in these proceedings. It shows intent, it shows accountability, and it shows respect for the community. Meanwhile, denying drifting at Pat's Acres doesn't make the sport go away. It just pushes it into the streets. Even the public comments acknowledge this. People spoke about how having a legal, safe place to drift helps reduce illegal activity. Pat's Acres is uniquely positioned to fill that role because it's close to Portland and because it's been a respected motorsports venue and because it has proven operator who takes responsibility seriously. I also want to point out how one-sided this record really is. Nearly 600 people spoke in favor. Drivers, businesses, owners, families, even neighbors to the property submitted written testimony in support. And yet somehow the denial treats those voices of support as if they don't count. That doesn't feel fair, and it doesn't reflect the reality of how important this facility is to our region. Pat's Acres is more than a racetrack. It is part of the culture and fabric of this community. It gives young people a healthy outlet, a safe hobby, and in many cases, a sense of purpose. Drifting is the fastest growing motorsport in the world. And right now, there's a huge void in the Portland area. The nearest places to drift legally are hours away. That makes participation prohibitively expensive for most people, especially young drivers just starting out. Pat's Acres has and can change that. At the end of the day, the county's own standard is clear. Does this alteration create greater adverse impacts than what already exists? The evidence shows it does not. In fact, it lessens those impacts under this proposal. What it does do is keep a beloved local facility alive, provide a safe space for a growing sport, and reflect the overwhelming wishes of the community. Clackamas County has the chance here to do more than just apply code. It has the chance to live up to its values, to provide a safe space, to support a diverse community, and to make a fair decision based on facts, not fear. So I ask you, please overturn this denial. Please allow drifting to return to Pat's Acres under the careful, responsible, and limited framework we've proposed. This is not just about cars on a track, it's about fairness. It's about community, and it's about giving the next generation of motorsport enthusiasts a place where they can belong safely and legally.
Thank you, sir. I will consider all of your testimony and your advocacy, as well as the comments that were submitted and the county's position as well, and the information that was provided. I'll review all of it and I'll make a written decision. And I will fairly consider all of it.
Thank you.
And I'll do my best. With that, since there was no request to keep the record open, the record will close at 4 p.m. today. All right. With that, I'll close this hearing. Thank you all for your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.